This is Debbi Dachinger, and I am so excited to be offering this presentation on a subject that I'm very passionate about. And I'm excited for you to weigh in and see how you feel. Some of us are already aware of this subject, some of this will be new for folks. But let's dive in and start the presentation because today we are talking about, drum roll please, ant beings, the cosmic guardians beneath our feet. So I'm going to get started on this, and I may come in and out of the presentation so I can spend a little face-to-face time with you. There we go. This is a subject, as I said, that I'm very, very passionate about. And so why me? Why am I here talking to you about this? Well, when I first heard about this, I've got a podcast. I've been doing radio for 18 years, podcasting about 14, and I still am both. My show is called Dare to Dream with Debbi Dachinger. And because of my platform, I'm very, very fortunate to be able to speak to a lot of people in the spiritual space, but I mean very cutting edge, channeling spiritual space, as well as the extraterrestrial galactic space. That's a lot of what I talk about around the world: shamanism, extraterrestrials. I'm an experiencer. And so one day on my show, I had somebody on who worked for the German government. And during the show, he happened to bring up ant people. I had never heard that term before. And at the time, I thought it was wackadoo. I would never heard of such a thing. And it didn't make sense. Little ants becoming giant people. But I know enough. This person was extremely legitimate. So I started doing the research. And the research actually was mind blowing. And so, because of that research, I always know that the right things come to me because they keep coming. More information starts being revealed, more avenues, more conversations, people stepping forward, articles, films, the whole thing. And that's exactly what started happening. So, from a position of where I felt like this was a made up idea, I started to find out that this was indeed very correct. And throughout history, there were incidents to show that these beings actually had been here. And along the way, I was shown that they prefer not to be called ant people, but instead ant beings, because they are their own being. And so that's why I'm a journalist. I'm a person who's going to dig deep if she's interested or smells that there's some kernel of truth in something, and I want to find out more. I have an incredibly curious mind. So, who am I and how did I get here? I have been on a spiritual path my entire life, and in the spiritual path, it has led me to some places I never expected to be in. Becoming even a radio host was unexpected. I was a professional actress and singer. And something happened along the line. I was an adult and I realized I something needed to change. I didn't know what to do with that change because I had one identity, singer, actress, my whole life. And so I let go. I surrendered. And the universe brought me exactly what I needed. But for 3 years, I was on an interesting path, very, very different paths, still very spiritual. But that led me to Dare to Dream, my radio show, and then eventually the podcast, and then writing the books that I've written. And so personally, I was a non believer in anything that was not from the earth. I believed there were humans and that was it. And I was not comfortable talking about UFOs or extraterrestrials because I didn't believe in any of them. And then the universe laughed. And the universe laughed because I went out of country. I had a very profound experience. And during this very unexpected awakening, the divine came and said, Debbi, you're a shaman, you're a priestess, and you're a healer. And I didn't know what to do with that information because I didn't have any basis of reality with who I was at that time. And so she was very generous with me and she came every night. to say the same mantra over me. And while she was saying the same mantra, she started showing me different elements, how I was a healer, how I was a shaman and a priestess. And so when I returned back to the United States, dear friend who did past life regressions took me through a few sessions. And during those sessions, I saw many, many, many lifetimes, shamanic lifetimes, as a male and as a female. Now, in the final regression that we did, when he took me back and down, I came to, it felt like, and it was a temple. And I was in front of me, a multidimensional part of me who had lived a life, and she was Mayan, but she looked very different than anything or anyone I'd ever seen. Now, on Earth, you wouldn't see somebody like this because she was over 7 feet tall and she was so slender and skinny. I spent what felt like the whole day with her, and before I left, I expressed I was mystified. She was beautiful, she was poised, she was incredible how she behaved. She was very minimal, big, massive creator. And I asked her how she was creating. And I made a few assumptions in my question, and she shook her head. She raised her finger and she telepathically said to me, I'm not from here. I'm from another galaxy. Well, I came out of that session and my mind was blown because here I was being very separated from UFOs and extraterrestrials, only to find out that I myself had had a life, concurrently or otherwise, as an extraterrestrial, as a priestess, Mayan priestess living on this earth in a temple. And so that led me again to becoming a journalist and wanting to be edified. What does that mean? And I went in this huge, deep journey about the galaxies, the universes, the various beings. Completely all has changed my life. So from that moment, that inception where the divine came and gave me that edict, you are a shaman, you are a priestess, you are a healer. Now, today, all these years later, all of that is true. I become certified in shamanic practices. I do healing for groups every month online on Zoom. I'm a Munaki rights practitioner. I work with some of the greatest shamans all around the world. And this is very much a part of me, as well as this galactic aspect. And all of this leads to what comes through me today as a healer. And so I am very grateful also for this subject because being into everything galactic and shamanic, which really is about cosmos and earth together, and we are the conduits in between. What I love is that it's not a one and done conversation. It is ever unfolding, ever learning. And so I want to move forward into this subject that captivates me today, which is about the ant beings. And that's exactly why I am doing this at this time. This is a subject that is near and dear to my heart. And sometimes I feel like when these things come up and I'm being asked to speak, and I'm being asked to speak a lot right now on this subject, that there's a reason to be a mouthpiece for this particular group of beings. So there's a beautiful connection and a beautiful reason why now on this earth, because here we all are, and we're light workers. We know very well that we're living at a time at a crossroads. What are we going to choose for the earth and for the future of the earth or not? What are we going to choose for humanity, for the future of humanity or not? So there is a deep connection with these ant beings. I'd like you to take a look at the photo, which is taken from Colorado Springs. This is a very well documented rock that exists. And in this rock, the indigenous say that it shows the many factions that are important. First, outlined in pink, you will see the ant people. I'm pointing, but of course you'll have to look with your eyes, the ant people. Then you'll see in yellow a Native American face. Then you'll see in turquoise, there is the animal lion. And I'm deeply connected and related to the Lyran beings, the lion beings. Then you'll see the big rock overhang and the head and the body and even the leg is indicative of a turtle with its shell. And of course, Turtle Island is very connected to the earth, as the earth is very connected to Native Americans. The Native Americans, all indigenous people and shamans believe that there's animism in everything, meaning there's a soul in everything. Everything is alive. The earth is alive. The trees are alive. The rivers, the rocks, the sky, the plants, the birds, the bees, the insects, all have a soul and a purpose. Who are the ant beings? Well, that's what we're here to find out. And I am going to be as edifying as I can to take us on a journey. All of these pictures that you see are from history. These were all taken in various places around the world because there's one thing in common when you start diving very deeply into this subject, from the Nagas of India to Teotihuacans, where I've been, this amazing pyramid in Mexico. It's a little bit of a mouth twister. Teotihuacan's tunnel. They all show there were underground civilizations. Now, think about regular ants that you're used to, the tiny little ones that crawl around, because there's actually a lot of parallels and why these particular beings are called ant beings. But one thing, if you were ever a kid or knew someone in your neighborhood who had an ant colony and it was glass and you could see through the dirt, that they were digging these tunnels all the way down that connected and went all the way back up. That is what they have found all around the world in many civilizations. Now, the Hopi Indians in particular, they have this deep, profound connection to the ant people. And for them, they've always said the Kachinas, or in particular the blue Kachinas, are going to come back at a certain point on this planet in our future history. And they say that these Kachinas are very mysterious spirit messengers from the sky, but also from the underworld. Again, we are the conduits, the cosmos, and the earth, and we stand in between. In addition, Sumeria, Mayan, native legends all describe non human intelligence protecting humanity through cycles of destruction and rebirth. We are right now on the precipice of that massive destruction, massive rebirth, rebirth, ascension. So these beings have always been with us. Now I'm going to explain more about the destruction and the rebirth throughout our history. Where do they dwell? Well, I'll describe their dwellings. And some of the pictures I'm going to be showing a little bit later on are very illustrious of the kind of places where they live. First of all, these are caverns, caves, but different than you would see, let's say, if you were on a hike and you came upon a cave, because you would not find the entrance to their particular caves. This is all energetic. They're highly protected. They're a highly advanced race. Their dwellings are lit from within. They are luminous from the walls and the ceilings, but you would not see light fixtures. They generally have an amazing tree that grows within their living space. Their living space is tunneled, caved. It is so big you could fit about 3 million people in it. Now, what about this tree? This tree is amazing because it's very akin to the tree of life, the fountain of youth. The tree has seeds on it that if you, an ant being, any species would ingest, would actually be very healing and life enforcing, life extending. They also have fountains, they have flora and fauna, they have animals that live within. They very much, like ants, have a hierarchy in that they have a very worker mentality. And they often have a king or a queen ant. And they are very honoring and respectful and protective of this king or queen. They're also very honoring and respectful to humans and have helped us many, many times. Now, these dwellings, where are they? These dwellings are on Earth. There are many different countries. They're around the United States. They're in other countries. They're also on the moon because these beings, as advanced as they can portal themselves, meaning transport themselves to other places, particularly on the moon. On the dark side of the moon, they have built structures and bases for themselves. Some of them are above the ground, some of them are underground, again, tunneled structures. Interdimensional wisdom beneath the soil. What do they look like? What do the ant beings look like? Well, first of all, they're bipedal, so they don't walk around like the ants, the little baby ants you see on this earth. So they are bipedal. They're generally 4.5 to 6 feet tall. They do have antenna. They talk in clicks or they communicate telepathically. They have these beautiful eyes. They can be black, they can be purple in nature. They cause one to feel quite cared about, loved, or understood. It's clear that they are compassionate and empathic. And also, their skin is luminous. Now, if you look at their bodies, you can see they're a little bit like the gray beings, a little bit, but they are not the gray beings, but they can be gray, they can be luminous white, so forth. Their purpose, well, they have many purposes unto themselves as an advanced civilization. However, one of the purposes they have had is to look over us, look after us, look in on us. They have been with us throughout history and have actually helped sectors of people to survive during cataclysms. And that's one of the many reasons why they are also with us today, because of what's happening on Earth and the potentiality right here, right now. Ant beings are one of the most intelligent groups interacting with Earth. So the ant beings, very kind, very benevolent. They have technologies, they have health practices that we don't have here yet. So, some proof, which I think is actually very important because we're talking about ant beings. And for people, when I've spoken about this, I was interviewed on Gaia TV on the Beyond Belief show. I've got 2 interviews there. And by the way, if you don't have a subscription to Gaia TV, I'm just going to throw this out right now. Let me give you a link so you can get a free 7-day subscription. Please watch my interviews, and then there's tons of programming there that you would love. But my gift to you, get a free 7-day subscription, DebbiDachinger.com/Gaia. So it's Debbie with an I, Dachinger with a C, /Gaia, DebbiDachinger.com/GAIA. I spoke about it on Gaia TV, and there were people who wrote some very interesting things to me because not everybody, but there was a sector of people who were saying, "Oh my God, ants! I can't even stand them on Earth. I can't imagine them being so tall." But because we are living in a galaxy, we are not the only species. We have to widen back. We have to expand our imaginings that we're not the only beings, that there are octopus beings, dolphin beings, whale beings, there are gray beings, there are hybrid beings, Sasani beings, Orion beings, lion beings, dog beings, ant beings. There's more things, Horatio, than the mind can conceive of. So if you'll expand out and don't make it so literal. What is literal with the ants is that they have some of the beautiful work ethics that the ants, whatever country you're in, have. However, again, this is a very advanced civilization. Now, the Hopi Indians, I want to talk about that a little bit. And also Dolores Cannon, Barbara Lamb, and JP. Hopi Indians. There have been 3 cataclysms in our Earth's history. That means these were times when everything was wiped out. Fresh start. Earth got to start all over again. Humanity got to start all over again. Animals, flora, fauna, everything, because everything was destroyed. So there was a time in our history where fire destroyed everything. There was a time in our history where ice, the ice age, destroyed everything. There was a time in our history where floods destroyed everything. Now, during those periods, the Hopi Indian in particular said that there was an odd cloud during the day. Now, remember, I said the Hopis, the Indians, the shamans, the indigenous around the world believe in animism. Everything has a soul, everything is a life force. So these Hopi Indians are able to acknowledge that is an odd shaped cloud and it feels like a symbol to our people. People are dying during these fires, ice age, and floods, but the Hopis are following this odd shaped cloud during the day and a particular star that they felt was guiding them. And eventually it led them to a cave opening. It led them to the ant beings. And the ant beings, now this is something I found very interesting because it's often said that the ant beings saved the people who were virtuous. And I thought, well, that's a very particular word to use. And when I hear the word virtuous, it sounds really religious. But I don't believe ant beings had any kind of religiosity. So, what does that mean? And what I could come up with was much like the shaman and the indigenous people, that they had a code of ethics, so to speak, the ant beings, that said, when there are a people who honor their earth, who honor the plants and the animals and other humans, who engage and give back, who don't just use the earth and the plants and the skies and the water as a resource, but actually engage in reciprocity, when they understand what life is and that we're not the only ones here, that we actually are in relation with the entire cosmos, this is more of a virtuous person. And so, sure enough, I did a lot of digging and found out that was exactly the meaning. And so the Hopi come upon this cave. And as I'd said earlier, this is all energetic. It's not a regular cave, but the ant beings wanted them to find them, thus the odd shaped cloud and the star that they followed. They invited the Hopis to come live with them so they would not be destroyed during the fire or the flood or the ice. And they came in these underground tunnels and caves. They were taught about food because food grew there. They were taught about food storage. Now, there's an interesting myth, I don't know if it's true or not, but that is that the reason why ants have such a thin waist is because they shared their food with the Hopi Indians. And so they learned all these new skills. When generations had gone by and the cataclysm was over and Earth was ready to be rebirthed, humanity was ready for a rebirth. There was a contingency of the Hopis who exited the cave with great love and reverence to the ant beings for all they'd given them. There was also a contingency of the Hopis and other beings, virtuous beings, who chose to stay behind because now that was their way of life. But for the ones who came back out, they then restarted the earth. They were started the part of the beings who restarted the earth. Even today, the Hopis still talk about and celebrate the ant beings, their saviors, but again, not in a religious way, but in a reverence, in a respect, in an acknowledgement that they exist and look at what they did for our people, and some of our practices today are because of them. Further proof, Dolores Cannon, who does the QHHT hypnosis, quantum healing hypnosis technique. Many of us know her. We've read her books throughout the years, phenomenal books, where she would take various people through hypnosis sessions and they would begin to speak about things that in the beginning was fantastical. But then even Dolores came to know this is real. We have had so many multidimensional lives as everything, creators of planets, as air, as beings on many planets, as male, female, perpetrator, victim, victor, all of it. Dolores Cannon started hearing people deeply in hypnosis talk about the ant beings, talk about seeing them, spending time with them, being visited by them. Same thing with the phenomenal author Barbara Lamb, who put out and co authored a book. And she had a particular client who, during the hypnosis sessions, said and recounted that while she was asleep, she came to know that there were some beings who came into her room. Oh, she was very terrified at the time. And so she shut it down, the client. And then she started hearing about the ant beings and she started looking into it and she became aware these are the beings who came to visit me. Once she was aware that they were benevolent, they would never harm her, and they were there on a friendly basis, she then invited them in. And she said, please come. I won't be scared again. I'd like to engage with you. And that is what happened. And so through hypnosis sessions with Barbara Lamb, this client began to recount her sessions with the ant beings. Additionally, the military, the government in the United States is doing, I don't know if I would call it work with, but they're highly aware of the ant beings. Well, they're highly aware of all the galactic beings, but they don't necessarily choose to tell us. However, the wonderful Michael Salla, who's got his podcast and writes his incredible books, Michael Salla started to engage with someone from the military. This particular gentleman goes by the initials JP. He is anonymous. You can never see his face, and we never know because he's protecting himself for good reason. But he does come forward and he tells us about all his trips to see the ant people. Now, in particular, JP has been in Florida, and it's very interesting about this location in Florida that he and other beings, humans in the military, go to this particular cave, underground place where they have had multiple visits with the ant beings. And why it is so interesting, this tree of life I mentioned to you that grows seeds that create health, they can heal major things, and is a life extender. It's located very close to, real or mythical, very close in Florida to the real Fountain of Youth. Kind of interesting. He's had many occasions to spend time with them, talk about the king of the ants, and let me see if there's anything else there that needs to be said about JP and the military, but it's very ongoing. That should be said. It is very ongoing. So there's lots of governments actually involved in this, very acknowledging of this. And the ant beings are very benevolent, but I will also say that they have boundaries. So, for instance, JP, once as a sign of goodwill, they gave him some of the seeds from the tree and they explained what it was for, but they meant it for JP. But JP took it back with him and gave it to his military superior who sent it out of country, who dot dot dot. Well, the next time JP went back to visit the ant beings, they would not allow him in. He was supposed to go see the king of the ants. They said absolutely not. They didn't trust him because they said, we gave this to you on good faith, but what did you do but give it away? It was actually meant for you. It was a gift. And it was not meant for all your governments and research labs, etc. So that was something he had to work with them over time to regain trust because he made a big faux pas. Okay. I think that's enough proof for the right now. And yeah. Okay, let's go a little bit into the history. Some of these are actual pictures, cave pictures, and you can see absolutely these look like ant beings. We already discussed the Hopi Indians and their cataclysms. And another sector of humans around the earth are the Zulus. And you can see in this upper picture, this is a piece of artwork from the Zulu culture that shows one of the Zulu Indians riding a giant ant. So they also have relation with these beings who live subterranean, who live in inner earth. And that's an important piece I think I'd like to go into is that we're so used to being very 3D, what we can see, feel, hear, touch, which is very limiting in itself, but also to believe that only what is here is what exists, when in fact, there's an entire earth. There's not just a sun inside the earth, there are many suns inside the earth. So there's a whole world. And by the way, there's not just ant beings who live there. There's also snake people, there's also reptilians, there's many other types of being who live on Earth. Earth is an incredible place to be living on because there is actually so much happening. If you'll go to northern Arizona or New Mexico, the Anasazi sites, Chaco Canyon, you'll see these things on the wall. They have been carved in the wall, ancient history depicting the ants. Now, down below, you'll see a picture. This is from Akhenaten in Egypt, the 18th dynasty pharaoh, who some believe may have been an ant being. You see this very elongated skull. And you see even the eyes, the very ant looking eyes. Now we're talking about 1351 BC. So throughout cultures all around the world, this comes up, this idea, this history of the ant beings. Now, on the right side, or I guess whichever way you're looking at it, but it's very obvious it's a military picture and some of the potential ant beings. But on the other side, we again see these historical pictures. You even see Indians, and they're actually in costume as though they are ants with the antennas. So, with great reverence, they are in costume, paying homage to them. It's very interesting to know a couple of things. The sky god of Babylon was called Anu. The Hopi word for ant is also Anu. And the Hopi root word for friends is Naki. So put Anunnaki together, which in Hopi means ant friends. So therefore, the Hopi Anunnaki or friends of the ants may, don't know it, but it may have been the same as the Sumerian Anunnakis. And we all know the Anunnakis came 550,000 years ago from their planets. They were often deemed as the god beings, but they played some master geneticist things with our genes. And so it is very interesting because throughout history, they were touted as the beings who came from the stars, the gods who came to Earth. They really were not gods. They really were from another planet, but they were so advanced than us and so much taller than us. So is it coincidence? Is it evidence? Anunnaki, Hopi for ant friends, the Anunnakis that we know of from other planets, other galaxies. Is it possible that it suggests that the ant people and the Anunnaki were the similar beings who came to Earth? Are they connected? I love this picture because I think this is a great depiction of this amazing tree of life, of the potential fountain. It is apparently quite beautiful to live in a city like this, to go visit a city like this, and all these benevolent beings. In the shamans of the Andean, of the Hopi lineage, this is very common for them to talk about the ant beings, to know that they are real, to know that they are alive, to know that they have had a great part in our history, and that they're here right now for great reason. In the shamanic lineage in some of the indigenous cultures, when they refer to the flood cataclysm, the fire cataclysm, the ice age cataclysm, they say that was a first world, a second world, a third world, and that right now we are living in a fourth world today, but upon us is the fifth world. Now, you know, there are prophecies all over the world that talk about this. We talk about ascension, we talk about the new world. The Peruvians say the Pachacuti, that the Pachacuti comes every 500 years. And during this particular, very predicted from historical times, ancient times, was that everything was going to be shaken up. This was going to be the time of the rise of the divine feminine. This is going to be the time when the north and the south start to fly again, when the eagle and the condor, which is a great sign finally for peace, are going to begin to fly again. All of these portend good things, but we have to remember that in order to get there, there's often tumult. And we are absolutely in tumultuous times where there feels like there's chaos, where the darkness and the light are fighting, so to speak, where duality is very apparent. And so the indigenous talk often about the fifth world and why the ant beings are here amongst us right now. There's talk about New Mexico, a secret base that is located under Dulce, which stands for sweet, in New Mexico, and that there are ant beings there as well. What do they do besides help from time to time to shepherd in some of the quote unquote virtuous humans that they want to make sure can go back out and start a new earth, a new human? They're here to help shift timelines. And all of you are probably aware of how we're shifting with every choice we make so quickly to the next and the next and the next timeline. And those of us who are light workers are looking to shift to the greater and the greater, where we can become part of the galactic community. They're also here for grid stabilization. They have a lot of crystal technology. And what does that mean? I mean, to work literally with the acupuncture, if you will, of the earth, to help the beautiful, very alive earth. And so they also secure these geomagnetic shifts because when we talk about an ice age, a flood, a fire, and anything else potentially that's coming down the pike, that means that the poles shifted. And if the poles shifted, then the climate went haywire. Everything went on fire, or everything flooded, or everything froze over. So they're also securing our geomagnetic shifts, and they assist in the planetary healing from below the surface through the inner earth to up above. How lucky are we to have these beautiful, silent, if you will, beings? Now, I'll tell you that I brought this up from time to time, and I'm amazed whether it was somebody saw me on the interview on Gaia or just speaking about it, even now here with you. And these people, very reputable, respectable people in our culture, in our tribe, have come up and said, I've seen an ant being. I've seen them. I know they exist. So this has become more and more prevalent with people to be able to see these beautiful beings that are really just here to care and to love. What is their message? What is their truth? Well, when you are beings such as this, you really have only one truth. And I think it's the truth we hear in songs. I think it's the truth that we know: love one another, care for one another, help one another, find those who are the light and stick with them, assist, know that this planet is alive, know that everything around us is alive, stop using and abusing for greed, for oil, for war, for complete separation between people, and start to understand unity instead. Start to understand that who we came here to be as a soul was to right the ship. The ant beings are here to say, you have tried this on Lemuria. You have tried this in Atlantis. You have tried this, those of you like myself who were Lyran beings, but our planets were destroyed. And if you don't have a galactic lineage as a Lyran lion being, then understand the original human template is of the lion being. So you still have it in you. We all have PTSD galactically from what we've experienced. And the ant beings are here to say, this time you came to get it right, but play your part in getting it right. Play your part in the technology that is not for war, but this advanced technology is to help, to heal, to nurture, to better the planet, the plants, the animals, ourselves, the women, the children, all of it. To start living with equality. The rise of the divine feminine is not just about woman. We, men, women, this, they, all of us have both in us to live in the balance because the balance receives, it is gentle power. It is not enforceful power. Also, that the technology can actually, rather than destroy the earth, to have luminous walls and ceilings, a fountain of youth, a healing tree, incredible plants and foods and ways to live together, to work hard together toward a common goal. How incredibly important it is for us all today. This is a very shamanistic way of life, and they have been a great friend to the indigenous and to the shamans throughout history and still currently today. And so, some final takeaways: how they get from where they are, deep in these inner earth caverns where they live, to other planets like the moon, to other dimensions, other planets, even other places on earth. They're portals, they're energetic portals that they know how to use that technology to travel around. These places where they live are subterranean cities, and they've got crystal healing technology everywhere. Of course, we know crystals hold frequency. There are aliens, as I mentioned earlier, all throughout the inner earth. There's much life there, way beyond the ant people. And I just want to say this is just the tip of this subject because there is so much more to Earth, to inner Earth, and to our oceans than science knows. Our oceans are way deeper than any of our scientists know. There are already different species of aliens living deep within our oceans. They don't care about us. They're not interested in us, and they're not here for us. But they're doing their own projects, if you will. Some of them are hybridization, living down there, minding their own business. But the earth isn't just for us. So, again, it's very important how we treat her and what we do with her and for her. And to remember, these beautiful ant beings are really our guardians. They have saved humans throughout all of Earth's cataclysms. They're really appointed to lead the way when we get to these points. And they are here for our survival, for our spiritual continuity, if our world, as it is right now, undergoes drastic changes. They truly are our friends. So, ant beings and people, ant friends. Thank you for joining me. For those who want to continue with what I do and offer in the world, I do offer monthly shamanic galactic healings. You can join from anywhere in the world. We meet on Zoom for an extensive healing session that I gift to the folks who attend. There's always replays, and these are very powerful, different every month, and they last about 75 minutes. You can go to debbidachinger.com/healing. Remember, it's Debbie with an I and Dachinger with a C. So it's DEBBIDACHINGER.com/healing. Please tune into my wonderful, my favorite place to be podcast, Dare to Dream with Debbi Dachinger. I have conversations like this and more. Very, very cutting edge. I have some of the greatest channels and minds in the world come on my show. Go to YouTube, Debbi Dachinger, or any of the major podcast sites where you like to listen to podcasts. And as my gift to you, if you'd like to learn more about your galactic ancestry, what your galactic lineage is, go to debbidachinger.com/starseed and get your free video and report. So, in essence, these beautiful beings, is it myth? Is it real? I've come to find out that they are very real indeed. They exist. They have existed. They've touched many sectors of beings and cultures all around the world. And throughout history, they've been carved on rocks, shown in the busts of heads, like the place and the beautiful sculpture from Egypt. They are truly here to lead the way, but also they model by their being. So, as the ant beings are, so we can also emulate. But whether we connect with them through telepathy, through meditation, we can also befriend and thank them and invite them more and more into our culture because these are beings who are here to lead the way.